Good morning, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining us for our fourth and final session of the U.S. SMB Global Business Academy. Hi, I'm Karen Parker. I'm an international trade specialist with the U.S. Commercial Service. So before we get started, I want to thank our event collaborators and supporters one last time. Our National Association of Women Business Owners, the North Texas DEC, the Veterans Women's Enterprise Center, the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade, the Minority Business Development Agency, Export Center, and the Wyoming SBDC, and brought to you by the U.S. Commercial Service and UPS. So the customer experience is important for you to retain them and make them loyal clients. And today we're going to hear from two speakers to hear about some strategies that they may have. First, someone you know very well, Maria Luisa Boyce, who is Vice President, UPS Global Public Affairs, to review a customer's journey. And then Carnelia Ajasin, CEO of Mind Catalyst, on design thinking and minimum viable product. So please, if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A, not the chat, so that we can help answer them. And if we run out of time, we'll have them and we'll be able to answer them late afterwards. So Maria, I want to turn it over to you to get started.
Karen, thank you so much and really appreciate being here. Good morning, everyone. I know we had in there that the title said tariffs, but today, as Karen mentioned, it is about a customer experience. And we're going to talk about something that is very important for you. And as we have gone through this journey of the three models that we have had, to talk about, well, how do my customers experience buying from me, right? What is it that they're looking at? And before we start, we have two polls that I would like to invite everybody to answer. So I am going to launch them now. And let me see here if it works. Yep, okay. And I will see if you are, maybe if you're seeing them. If not, then let's move forward. But my questions were about, do you communicate with your customers often or not? And you can write in the chat, maybe as I'm asking the questions, how often do you communicate with your customers? Once a week, once a month, or they communicate with you through the website? Would love to hear your thoughts. And two, have you seen a change in the behavior of your customers? And today, I'm excited to start this conversation. And when I say change in behavior, by the way, do they require more options for payment? Are their shopping habits different? Are they buying more online? Do they want to see a sample and then return it? Or what are those behaviors that you're seeing from your customers? So definitely please write in the chat. The poll did not work, of course. I did not reach out to the gods of technology. We have, Karen and I have a friend that talks a lot about that. So as you write in the chat, how have your customers changed behavior or not? Let's talk a little bit about the next slide, please. Why a customer, what is it important that to understand about the customer experience? And this is the journey that they go through. Why is it important for you as a small and medium-sized business to have an idea of that interaction and that experience they're having with your business? And what tools can you use to help you in this area? I hope that at the end of this, you have a better idea of areas that maybe you can improve, that you can emphasize. And then you'll hear from Carmelia, which I'm very excited. That is the highlight of the presentation today. And talk to you about how do you take it to the next level, right? From a product and understanding the customer. So next slide, please. So let's talk about the importance of the customer experience. Why do we care? Why do we care about that experience? And I think there's 4 areas that we wanted to highlight. One is that a satisfied shopper contributes 14 times as much revenue as a someone dissatisfied buyer. That means if you have a satisfied shopper that goes, they love the experience, the product, they come back and keep buying from you. And it has been proven that they do generate more revenue, the more happy they are with the experience that they had with the business. Also, creating more loyal customers helps you generate more revenue. It's much easier if you want to launch another product to go with your customers if they're loyal to you than if you're starting with a new customer that has never heard from you. So this is very important. That loyalty makes a difference in many areas. The other thing too that is important is the word of mouth as a powerful tool for doing business. The best supporters of your business can be your customers, and customers are becoming more and more sophisticated. Reading those reviews makes a difference, right? And so having those good experiences when you have those reviews, that is important, and that helps you grow more your business. And also, I think the other part is the competitive advantage. If you have a good customer journey where, for example, someone went to a web page that has the same product as you or similar, but their experience going through the web page or from the phone was not good, they come to you and they find this is a good experience. It was seamless, easy to understand. That gives you a competitive advantage. If we could move to the next one, please. So when we were looking at some of the statistics, as we look at different surveys that we have collected information from different customers, the personalization of shopping is here to stay, and most customers are looking to have how can they have a personalized experience when they go shopping, because then that helps them. They will, if they feel like the company where they shop, where they have this interaction, knows who they are, the likes, they're more likely to recommend it. And they're also more likely to come back and continue to shopping in the company. On the other hand, too, when you have complaints such as 90% of the complaints that have to do to difficult to navigate, immediately they will go to your competitor, leaving frustration. Today, time is of the essence, right? All the customers want to have a good experience. So all of these things have an impact. And so for you, it's very important that you have an idea of what are those touch points that you have with your customers that are going to make a difference and want them to come back. Next slide, please. So what are the steps in the customer journey? And this is so important for you to look at. Where do they find them, right? And these 5 steps, I want you to remember this part, because these steps make a difference in terms of what can you do to make certain that you get the attention of the customer for the product that you're selling. And so first is awareness. Now, awareness is where they did a preliminary search and they know, oh my gosh, this is a product that I like. They understand the service of what you're doing. And this is the first step, that first stage when they start interacting and get a sense of who you are. Then is the consideration. And this is when they start comparing products, right? It's the first time I hear about this. I want to go and check this other product. I want to get better sense of, is this a product that is worthwhile? What are the reviews that are being left by others? Is there a video that can show me how the product works? That's in the stage of consideration. This is what you have to have a higher level of engagement with the customer, so that they're able to understand better what is it that they're going to buy, what to expect, and how to manage that part. Then you have the acquisition, right? This is when they decide, I love it, I'm going to purchase the product. And I always make the joke that I'm not allowed to go into Instagram or others, because then my budget gets off limits and then it's peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But that's where you go, oh my gosh, I love it. This looks great. I'm going to buy it. And then you buy it. And this is when you start that experience where the acquisition happens. That's a first experience too, that your customer is going to have. How easy was it to pay, to order? And is it clear about the understanding of, when am I going to receive this amazing, I don't know, pair of shoes that I bought, or jewelry, or the service that I contacted for? Then comes the onboarding. And the onboarding is when the product is received. If you're a service company or if you're a goods company, things vary, right? Depending on what that onboarding is, but that is the product is received. And now you can request, or maybe the buyer is going to give you possible feedback. And for example, I ordered the shoes, they look beautiful. I ordered them size too big, and now I want to return them. What is that process? Is it easy or not? How does that work? And last but not least is the loyalty and the advocacy. And here I think something that is very important that sometimes we don't take into consideration is that not only the loyalty in terms that I love this product, I highly recommend it, but also maybe I had a bad experience. My product arrived late, did not arrive, and it didn't look like what I bought. What is the advocacy? What channels do I have available as a customer so that I can say, hey, I didn't like this, I had a bad experience, do you get a response? That's also an experience in itself, and you need to think and have it ready. How do you manage it? Because things happen. Next, please. So here was, as you talk about the personalization, now coming from a UPS perspective, we have learned this, is shipping has become a very important part of this process, right? Especially if you're selling e-commerce or you're selling brick and mortar, but then people want to get it shipped to where they're going. You need to have alternatives that you're going to be offering to your customers. And if you're selling online, what delivery options do you have? I have in there some of the options that you can offer, but as you're thinking for these options domestically, if you're selling within the US, I think we, in the one of the polls that we did last time, 50%, right, of the of our participants are exporting, the 50% other are not exporting. But you're selling domestically or you're exporting, you have to have options available for your customers, and that gives them an idea how can they personalize more that process. Next, please. Also, it's important to understand, as I mentioned to you, what is that post engagement that you have with your customers. And this is very important because you need to, first of all, confirm that you have an order, right? And now, more than ever, and we did a survey recently where SMEs highlighted that for them a concern is about cybersecurity and protecting their brand. So having that immediate response, thank you for your order, here's the information, confirm that order purchase, that gives them peace of mind that they have received, first of all, that the email comes from you, that you have received the order. Then you have wait 1 or 2 days and do an education about the product. Let them know how do you like it and explain how they can use it. And also 3 or 4 days after delivery too, ask them if they can give some feedback and write a review. You'll be surprised, some people do answer, some people say, I don't have time for this, but it's good for you to have that engagement. It also shows to the customer that they care. They care about the company cares about my opinion. They care about what I think about the product. I really appreciate that. And then if it's a product that it can be replenished, when you have a specific deadline or timeline that you think this is a good time to replace it, send them a reminder. This constant communication makes a difference and it helps. Next, please. So how do we retain customers? And we're going to share with you some of the strategies. And I know Cornelia is going to take you through another journey on this part. But you have to be understanding that as you want to retain customers, you want to build a loyal relationship with them. And that helps you to avoid some acquisition of new customer costs, right? But it's always important to have strategies of how do you reach out to other marketers and how do you engage. And so loyalty, first and foremost, is going to be one of the first areas to help you retain your current customers that love your product and you engage and have that information. And then how do you get to other customers? And understanding that getting new customers is 5 times as expensive as retaining existing customers. And that makes a difference because, as I mentioned earlier, at the beginning, the probability to sell new products or if you want to launch a product is higher with an existing customer than with a new customer. And existing customers are 50% more likely to try new products, as I mentioned, and spend 31% more because they trust you. And so the investment is important. Here it's important for you to also have, how are you communicating the social media? So let's talk about the 3 areas to take into perspective. From a loyalty perspective, investing in keeping your current customers is very important. Getting new customers, what we're finding out more is that SMEs that sell in omni channels, where you have more ways to touch different markets, are being more successful. Second, and we'll go more in depth into this, is having a web page that flows easier and is easy to see on your phone, because now we're doing a lot of shopping on the phone is very important. And so that way that you're connecting with your customer makes sense. And third, having videos, being able to supply more engaging areas with your customers makes a difference. When you have a video, people are looking more at that area because it makes it easier to understand and to see what they're buying. Let's move to the next one, please. Now let's talk about how do we keep the strategies to retain customers and make them loyal clients. And this is something that is important. You have to look at what is that behavior that you're seeing from your customer. If you start seeing that there is signs that customers that usually are always very loyal, that have been buying, but they start leaving or not coming back and buying the product, start looking at a list of those customers and understand why is this happening, right? If we're seeing a trend that customers are leaving, and make a list and make certain that you understand why are they leaving. And as much information as possible, you can also be able to do follow-ups and understand how do you tailor the communication so that they feel special. And there's different softwares that you can use for this, but that can help you have that retention for them to understand that, okay, they do care. I know it might sound like, well, how do they know? But when you have good customers that love the product and come back, they want to know that you care, that they are buying that product, and that you are interacting and saying, hey, how did you like the shoes that we sent? We haven't seen you in a while. Want to make certain that you know this new product that has come out. Always, this is very important. Very important too, from this perspective, target customers with the special offers. Give them a sense that you are, that you understand their purchase history and you're giving them a deal because they're loyal, because they have your loyalty, they understand your product, so you're giving them a great discount, a special offer. That makes them feel very important. And then also creating a loyalty company or a VIP program that you can, a loyalty program or a VIP program allows them to see the recognition that they are loyal, that they have a good revenue. I love, for example, in some of my loyalty programs that I have, I love when I accumulate and I don't know, after 5 purchases, I get $10 off. That's a big deal for me because I say I'm getting a deal because I'm loyal. That makes a difference. And that's something that you can consider. The next, please. So continue, the next one, please. So let's talk about the tools. And this is important to know. And I think after the pandemic, as we see the new customers that are coming out, they have become, and I will say more sophisticated, where they want to understand more about who they're doing business with, and make certain that they have a good service experience. And they want to know that the businesses care about them, that you are listening and you're paying attention to what their concerns are. And this is it's a tough balance to find, but there are tools that can allow you and help you to better understand how that works. Next, please. And so creating a customer database can help you personalize your approach to a client. And then you can, this database is a customer relationship management. You have different type of softwares that can help you to create this, but then they can help you to have information that is going to be key for you to grow your business, to be able to engage more with your customers and create that loyalty, right? Having their personal details, of course, following all the regulatory process and privacy concerns. What was the source of the lead? How are they getting in touch with you? Because that helps you to understand where you can invest more, or how do you recognize if someone else is giving recommendations. Record all the interactions you're having with that customer. Maybe they had a bad experience, you interacted well, and now they're back. It's good to have that history, always recognizing and appreciating that the person had the time to interact and have more information. Look at the purchase history. What is this person looking at? What is a product that they like? Because then you have an idea of what pattern, and if you have new lines or new products that are coming out, you know who you can target. And also any other additional information that might be beneficial for you and for the relationship. And that way they give you recognition. Even if it is for a birthday, right? That you ask for a birthday month and date, and sending them a message of happy birthday, or here's a discount for your birthday. All those things to start building relationship with your customers, and customers are looking more of that. Next, please. There are different types of customer relation management softwares that you can use. You have the operational, the analytical, and the collaborative. The operational goes from the most simple ones, and then you can go to the one that you have a more complex one. If you're a small business, you have to look at what works for you at that moment. You might be at the operational CRM, where you have marketing automation, sales automation, service automation. You streamline and simplify an organization's process. And these are easy to sell. If you have a smaller type of business that you don't want too much complicated, you don't have someone to be managing a big software, this is the type that you can do it. And it's best for businesses with linear sales processes, and that can be more easy flows back and forth. The analytical CRM is for those businesses that want to leverage data and get a better picture of their customer, how their customers behave, and then they have more tools or elements that allows them to do data mining and how do they work and use the data and analysis so that they can then have a strategy of reaching out. And then you have the collaborative CRMs, which is when you have stores with many locations, and you have they need to communicate, etc. So that's for bigger customers, bigger expenses. This is just an example of what you can look at, but have a sense as a small business, this is a good area for you to invest in, of what can best help you, what tool can best help you to interact with your customers and have a relationship. Next, please. And we have a quick case study of Meet Jenny, but I am running out of time, so I want to make certain that I go through it. This was a situation with Jenny was an entrepreneur. She was experiencing and questioning some clients were leaving or only buying once and they didn't repeat the purchase. And so when she started to do an analysis about what was happening and investigating, she found 6 things. 1, her website was taking forever to upload, and the customers got tired of waiting. The customers didn't like the shipping options that were given, and so they wanted more variety of that. And the return policy was not very flexible, and so that was not a good option for many of the customers. Also, customers feels like Jenny didn't care because they never heard back from her, not even an email or a thank you or how's your purchase doing. And the emails that she was sending or any communications were like general blast mails, nothing personalized for the customers. And there was not a loyalty program. All of these things, as she did the investigation and talking to some clients, this is what she found out. Next slide, please. So how to solve the problems? The slow website, do the edits and analyze how can she have a more user-friendly website? And remember, very important, is it easy to look on the phone? How are you losing that part? The limited shipping options, looking at flexibility and options depending on where you're selling internationally or domestic. How do you handle the returns and the standard emails? I'm going to stop here because I want to make certain that we have enough time for Carmelia to follow up. But let me stop here and we will provide you the presentation and follow up on a summary. And let me welcome Carmelia as we, maybe as a conclusion from this customer experience, every step that you take makes a difference, right? And how you're able to engage with your customer, learn about your customer makes a difference. And if you have a younger family member that can help you respond to all the social media posts, that always helps. Don't leave it unanswered. Make certain that you make the time to engage with your customers. So now we're going to move to Carmelia. Carmelia, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Maria. I really appreciate this opportunity and so glad to meet all of you and looking forward to presenting to you today. I tend to take my camera off so that we can focus on the presentation, and I'll be available with camera back on again for Q&A following the presentation. So also, if you have any questions, please feel free to add them to the Q&A area so that when we do have Q&A, I can address them then. So I will let you guys know when I'm ready to go to the next screen, but I think this screen right here is perfect right now. So can we go back to the first screen with my picture? Thank you. Okay, so who am I and why, why am I here in front of you today? So I am CEO and founder of Mind Catalyst. I focus on, specializing in human-centered design around principles around products. I help small businesses, startups, change makers, and Fortune 500 companies to solve complex business problems with innovative and technology design solutions. My goal here is to help to share ideas around my experience and expertise around how to really bring a well-designed product to market with meaning, relevance, and that's also have a profitability standpoint. After years of mentoring and building my own firm, I also developed a framework that will help business owners who have products to take their products to the next level. And I'm here to share that framework with you guys today. So I've also worked with startups as well as nonprofits, multinational organizations, such as Eli Lilly, Rio Tinto, AT&T, Health South, Texaco, and many others. You can move on to the next slide. Next. Thank you. So some people typically struggle with ideas and products that they're actually bringing to market. And so we're going to start solving that problem today. So let's make it personal for the people here. So, this is something that a lot of people have a challenge with. We have tons of ideas, but we don't really know how to build upon those. So we typically, in order to move your idea forward, it's really about coming up with a good solution around a problem that you're solving for. And then executing on that. And here is where we're going to actually look at some of those ideas today. Next slide. So we have two concepts we are going to talk about today, and that's going to be design thinking and the minimal viable product. A great way to determine this is by applying design thinking to your product validations. So what is design thinking? Design thinking is a broader methodology in terms of how to bring together empathy and experimentation into the product and software building space. It allows for you to anticipate what future customers want from the very beginning of the product ideation. Before you put down a single dollar or time, money, and energy towards your product itself. this is very necessary. So it allows you, when you're looking at the minimal viable product is the bare necessities of what it takes to actually build a solid, successful profit in terms of your product. So what we want to avoid as entrepreneurs is adding unnecessary bloat and also concepts into the product, and even though we don't really necessarily need that. When you strip away the bells and whistles, your customers are left with solutions that solve their exact problems. And we know that when your product and the problem that you're solving for the customer is a match, then there you have profitability, or at least you have a higher viability of profitability. And this is known as your product validation within an MVP. So MVP means minimal viable product. Okay, so can we go to the next slide? So, excuse me. So there's a series of questions that we walk through in order to validate ideas that you have and to get it ready for the production and also product launch. For example, we will do this by starting with the beginning of and focusing on what the important aspects of your business is and also your user. So what are the main benefits of your ideas that are being offered to your audience or to your target customers? You need to also isolate what it is that your product will most, will be used for by your customers and why. So before you start worrying about marketing and turnover and operations, you need to identify what your application or your product, what it does and doesn't do for your users. This will help you stay on track in terms of what types of features, functionality, what types of products are best going to be used for your customers. Can we go to the next slide? And
Carmelia, the slide is there. Maybe.
Yeah. Can you go to the next slide? I'm sorry, I think I'm a little bit ahead. Yeah.
It is in the next slide.
Yes, you can move on to the next one now. I think I moved a little bit ahead. Yes. Okay. So here, when we're talking about again, when we're talking about products, we want to make sure that the products that we are building upon and that the products that we are thinking about in terms of our customers really fits the needs of the customers that we intend the product to be for. So we have to look at the product itself and then also where we're going to go with the product in terms of the concept of the product. Most times when people are looking at product design or product for their customers, they're looking at the pain points that are really relevant for that particular customer. And then really looking at the solution of the product being that solution for that pain point for that customer. Next slide. So what are the main benefits of your idea that you're offering to your customers? You need to isolate what that is and to make sure that you understand the why for those customers. Next slide. One key area that I always mention to customers, to clients, is that when you're creating a product line for your company and for your customers, you have to keep in mind that those products really just isn't about you, right? It's about the problem that you're solving for your intended customers. Oftentimes people think, oh, well, I like this idea or I like these products for myself, therefore other people surely will find these products viable. And that's not always the case. It's really about the customers and the problems that you're solving for. And so that's what the issue is that you have to actually adhere to when you're developing products. So we isolate, particularly let's look at when you're looking at a product line or if you're looking at a software application, you want to isolate by one feature at a time. And that feature targeting one problem that the customer has at the time. So this is where design thinking comes into play big time. So put yourself in the user's shoes. You want to so usually a big mistake that I see with entrepreneurs is that they typically map out or think that the biggest use case for their customers are not necessarily what customers really want. So we want to look at, is this what the customers really want? And not necessarily, kind of putting our own, interjecting our own ideas into that. So the bottom line is, once you know the problem that you're solving for, then you have a very invaluable tool for building a successful product onto. And this leads to your MVP. So again, with the MVP, you want to make sure that it's the minimal viable product. So let's say that you have a product line you're launching. You don't want to launch the entire line. You just want to launch maybe one or two aspects of the line, and then to ensure that the customer, and then actually garner customer feedback and evaluate that feedback from those customers. As you're doing that, that will help, and you're becoming more data-driven as a company, that will help you to drive decisions around any subsequent products that you're going to add to that product line. And so you want to actually do that. So becoming data-driven is also very, very key in developing that MVP or that product line for your customer base. Next slide. So once you've identified the problem, you need to look at your concept that you're solving for the problem. While focusing on this, you also want to see if the problem you also want to see if this problem that you're targeting fits the users and what the problem is that they're having. Going out and talking to prospective users would be beneficial at this stage of the framework. So feedback from customers is essential. And we all understand that not all feedback is created equal, right? And so you have to develop a evaluation process in terms of evaluating what feedback is actually viable or isn't viable. People may say something like, maybe they don't like the color of the tennis shoes. But if 10% of the customers are saying that they don't like the new colors of the tennis shoe line that you have, that's not necessarily enough to, throw that particular batch out and start with another color, right? It's really about evaluating the number of people who are having the same complaints. If you have about 80% of the customers that are saying, yes, we don't necessarily like the color of these particular tennis shoes, then that's more of a viable evaluation to say that, okay, maybe we should look at these colors and see what other colors may be more suitable for our customers' taste, right? And then do some sort of survey to find out what customers, in getting that feedback from customers to see what colors are best suited for the needs of the customers. So the customer feedback is essential to get that perspective from your users, to make sure that you're making the proper changes to your product to move forward with your customers. Okay, so we can want to go to the next slide. So how much time we use with our users and looking at the problems that they're solving for is really important. So, and also looking at how much money do we need to spend on those particular products. People aren't always afraid to pay for things that solve real problems for them, right? We all pay for things that we know or think or believe that is solving a problem for us. So you want to look at companies like Apple, Nike, Tiffany of the world. People will pay premium prices because they feel that those products work for them. So, in terms of looking at pricing and things of that nature for your product, it's really about how big of a problem is this product solving for those particular customers. When you isolate, products and also pricing, you can pinpoint how valuable your product is and appropriately put a price on the value of that particular product. The more often they use it, or the higher the higher tend to be, the higher is the usual charge for those particular products. Pinterest, for instance, there's really no fee for that, but people do use it quite often. And maybe we also can look later on about how valuable that company is later on in the future in terms of print tests. Can we go to the next slide? So again, I want to just hone in on the fact that that once you understand the necessary features, functionality, needs of your customer, that will help you to make your product stand out and help you to have a more viable MVP for your customers. So MVPs are well designed. You have to also, again, when you're looking at an MVP for a product line, you want to make sure that you are testing out the product and actually see it as a test for your customers, making sure that you are evaluating, getting input and feedback from your customers on a regular basis. I would definitely make sure that on your websites, on your social media, that you're polling customers, and getting feedback from them on not necessarily just the product itself, but also how does it go from, from the moment they click pay on your website to the moment that they actually receive the product, all those necessary actions in between, that they're having a good experience. So the customer experience is also very viable and very, very important in terms of, making sure that that customer has a very end-to-end positive experience with your as they interact with your particular company. So making sure that all the process from purchase to receivable is an experience that is also no stress. It actually makes sure that they have a good experience with you, and getting the feedback from the customers, letting you know how that experience was for them. It's also viable for you to actually, gather as well. Next slide. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next slide. I'm speaking ahead. Okay. Yeah, so MVPs are also well designed. There is a balance in creating and targeting straightforward products, as well as designing and executing products very well. And as I mentioned before, part of that also part of your product is also how it's being delivered. How somebody goes from paying for the product, actually researching the product, looking at the product, evaluating the product, also looking at some of the feedback they've gotten from other customers, and then paying for that product, and then getting that product in the mail to them in a way that's efficient and that's not caused any stress or problems for them in the process. You also want to use, and also using marketing buzzwords. You don't want to use those kind of words that you are marketing the product so that people can understand. It's in plain English, that they actually get what you're trying to sell to them. Oftentimes I see entrepreneurs kind of use the marketing tools as an overzealous experience, and it kind of turns off a lot of customers. And so you want to be very clear, and you want to be very just simplistic in terms of the wording that you use, in terms of not overusing buzzwords, not overusing tactics, so that it can make the attraction to your product very natural for the customer. Let's move to the next slide. Sorry, you want to move to the next slide. Okay. So how do we find this mysterious balance of complexity? But we want to be, concise and intuitive, yet also in some cases beautiful, also effective in terms of how customers are resonating with your particular product. We want to start by narrowing down the focus and picking a small number of features or a small number of attributes or characteristics of your product. And then you execute on those, and you execute well. That's why it's important to have an MVP as, again, minimal viable product, because you want to make sure that you are not overloading your customer, potential customer, with a lot of different products within your line before testing the processes out in terms of your supply chain, your delivery, and how customers are going from point A to point B, payment to receiving the product in the hand. You're not able to do that in an efficient way if you have an overload of products without those processes in place. Having an MVP process, making sure that this is a viable opportunity for customers, will allow you to be more intentional about tweaking and tightening up your processes along the way so that customers will have a good experience in terms of purchasing the product from you moving forward. Okay, want to go to the next slide? I think it's going to be quality over quantity. Yes. Okay. So it's better, again, it's better to do when you have a product line. Let's say you have a larger product line, you want to be a data-driven company. So you want to make sure that you understand very clearly what customers are saying in terms of each and every product. Now, I'm not saying again that you're going to take everything that customer says and then start changing things around, but you need a evaluation process of which to do that in order to making your decisions, having your decisions to be more data-driven. Being a data-driven company and having insight from your customers is the best way to move forward in terms of what types of products to move forward with, what features, what functionality, what colors, what types of products are best served for your intended users. Customers, as we know, tell us what they do and don't like about our products. And so we need to listen to them and take that insight to make better decisions about the quality of our products and also the quality of our delivery of those products to our clients. So if you have like over 30 features, then you should take a hard look at kind of pulling back a little bit to make sure that the processes that you have in place for your supply chain, your accounting, just how people go from your point of service, that all of that process along the way is one that makes the experience of the user, the overall experience of the user, a seamless process and also an enjoyable process. So let's go to the next slide. Yes. So your first iteration of your product is not meant to be the most perfect, right? Oftentimes people say that if your product is like perfect moving when you first actually put your product on the market, that you've kind of missed the boat. Oftentimes customers will give us the opportunity to enhance our product. Oftentimes people don't realize or seem to forget that let's say apps and software and products like New Balance sneakers that have a resurgence, and Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn did not look the way they looked or operate today. Even when looking at New Balance sneakers that have had a resurgence, a lot of those sneakers looked similar to what they did back in the 80s and 90s, but they've actually made some tweaks to them to enhance the look and feel of those sneakers. And also the same thing with Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. When they first came out in terms of those applications, they looked nothing like they look today, nor did they function the way they did back in the day. But it took users like you and I to provide feedback and input that has actually helped to shape and to enhance the look and feel and the functionality of each of those products moving forward. So do one thing right so that your customers are positioned in terms of your product in their head to make sure that they're thinking that this is a great product and it solves my problem. You don't need to reinvent the wheel with every implementation and design. Stick with the tried and true design and functionality practices in order to cut down costs. Have an MVP. Having an MVP doesn't mean that it's a kind of one and done, but it allows you to start with have a starting point so the product can have more features going forward. Next slide. So a lot of concepts that were covered here in this presentation, mainly just making sure that your product is viable in terms of the design thinking process, but also primarily around the MVP, making sure that you have an MVP and you have an MVP approach to new and subsequent products that you're adding to your product line. Also looking at how you're shipping and how it goes from any point of service, the processes around your point of service, your processes around supply chain, really looking at those and tweaking those and enhancing those through the experience and also through the feedback and input that you get from your customers. ready for Q&A if you have any questions.
Carmelia, thank you so much, and hopefully you can turn on the camera now. Very interesting. I love the information, and um, just going a little bit as people, if there is anyone that has any questions from your presentation, we have as you were going through the process and talking about how to think about the product, how to gather data for customers. Are there any trends that you have seen in the past 3 years that you're seeing a change of how the businesses can interact with customers and learn more about what type of products they can launch?
Yeah. So customers are, I mean, founders are and CEOs, entrepreneurs, they're actually engaging customers in a way that, oh, I'm sorry, I saw something on the screen. So they're engaging customers to actually be part of the process of design. So customers are actually helping with the design of particular products. They're getting their input and feedback and so customers are helping them to actually design what type of product they're actually wanting to see. So whether it be sneakers or whether it be fashion or whether it be even makeup, they're looking at, okay, we're thinking about these particular colors. Let's take lipstick from one of the customers that I've actually worked with recently. And they're actually posting the lipstick colors on models, on the picture, on video. And they're asking customers, hey, which of these colors would be best suited for you? They're getting that information, obtaining that information from customers, looking at that, looking at the pros and cons of who wants what color, and making a decision as to which of those products will actually be on the launch of their next particular line. So engaging your customers and making them part of the process is a really good idea.
Yeah, I love that, right? And getting that feedback, because that makes it, also gives them an ownership of part of the process. So you're also an entrepreneur, my dear Carmelia. You sell services. Any advice or any because you sell a service, you're a service entrepreneur, right? You're advise companies and advise businesses.
Yes.
What would be your advice for the entrepreneurs that are listening to us in terms of how to position themselves and expand, and what has been your experience on that part?
Yeah, so I would say from a point of view of expanding, you have this in terms of scalability, it's really about expanding the customer base, right? So if you are, let's say I have a client who has a puzzle company, and so we're looking, she sells all kinds of artwork and turns them into beautiful puzzles. And so we've talked about her expanding the artwork onto other types of products, whether it be T-shirts or posters or cutlery, mugs and plates and things of that nature. Just really expanding how she's actually producing her product. You want to have other item lines or SKU lines as part of your product base to actually enhance and expand on the scale in terms of the product itself. Also, you want to look at expanding in other markets outside of the United States, markets that are multinational, those maybe in a Hispanic community, other multi-language communities as well. Make sure your website itself is international in that space, where it actually has the ability to be converted or translated into other languages other than just English. So those more tweaks also help to expand your business as well.
I love that. Carmelia, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and sharing this knowledge. And I hope for all our participants it's useful. I know we will share with them. You have like a checklist, right, Carmelia? I don't know if you'll share that. We'll be able to share that with all the participants, and of course, the presentation. And if you want to work with Carmelia, please follow up with her. Let's support all our entrepreneurs. Thank you, my dear Carmelia.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.
Yes, thank you. So as we finish and I invite Karen to join us back again, we want to say thank you to all of you, and we're going to be following up with an email providing you links to the presentations and a link with links that can help you better understand where we're going and what can be doing. And I think, Karen, your camera is not working, or it might be my computer, but if we go to the next slide, Danielle, please. These are programs that UPS has available for all of you and that you're able to leverage and take advantage. Karen and I also wanted to recognize another individual that is here with us, and I don't know if she didn't know we were going to do this, but we want to thank Ms. Jessica Gordon, from U.S. Commercial Service, from the Department of Commerce, who really also made this a reality. Jessica, thank you so much for your leadership and for your thoughtfulness, and always working on finding out ways to support small businesses. Jessica is going to start a whole new adventure, continuing to represent the Department of Commerce. So Jessica, thank you. Thank you so much for your partnership. So I think she is frozen.
Well, no, I see her. I see her.
Good.
Do you
good.
see me yet, Maria?
Yes, I see you. I see you guys now.
Thank you. And thank you, Jessica, for making this happen with UPS. It's a great collaborative export academy. Thank you.
Thank you. We
Yes.
will.
Yeah, thank you so much. I might have been frozen just for a few seconds there, but just want to thank you so much, Maria Luisa, and then of course, Karen. This is a wonderful program. Like, this is one of our flagship programs, and we really value the partnership that we have with UPS. So I hope that you all take all the resources and the tools and really apply them, and certainly connect with the UPS team, and then also connect with your closest US Export Assistance Center as well. I know it's a lot of information, but they will help you to access the information and learn how to best put it to use.
Definitely. We are going to follow up with links for all the programs. Jessica, may the force be with you, my friend, in your new adventures. Karen and I will continue to partner and do more programs. And to all of you, continue to be entrepreneurs. This is the time to be. You're not alone. There's a family and a community around you. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. We'll follow up with all the materials. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you all.
Thank you to our partners.